Well, 7 more suspects accused of the gang rape of 8 women in West Village, west of Johannesburg, are expected to appear in court today. Yesterday, 7 other accused appeared before court in relation to the same incident. They are facing multiple counts of rape, aggravated robbery and contravening the Immigration Act. The accused are part of a group of about 80 suspects arrested a day after the gang rape. The 8 women were part of a crew that was filming a music video when they were gang raped in West Village. Legal analyst advocate Romeo Nthambeleni joins us now to talk a little bit more about this particular story. Advocate, thanks for your time. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Leanne, and thanks to you and the viewers.
You know, I imagine as an advocate or just a normal South African as well, hearing what happened in Krugersdorp must have hit you the same way that it hit all of us. But I mean, what was your initial reaction to this story?
Look, Leanne, as you have rightfully said, as an ordinary South African as well, we are impacted and badly affected in this with this scourge of gender-based violence against women in South Africa and in general. And you know, as a law-abiding citizen, you feel like it's not supposed to happen and it's not supposed to be happening in the first place.
Yeah, it really shouldn't be happening, and unfortunately it is. And for these young women, it didn't happen once, it happened twice, 3 times on one occasion for some of them, as we've been hearing and learning about more and more details of how these young girls were gang raped at that stage. So we see now a little bit of developments in this particular case. So before we get into that, but I suppose the question to ask you as a legal commentator, what crossed your mind regarding the possibility of how the case could be handled based on the reputation of our police and justice system?
Yeah, look, Leanne, we have already, used backlogs in rape cases in South Africa, and I think on this one there is an attempt to try and expedite the matter so that at least the matter will be heard and will reach to some sort of finality. But based on that, we should also remember that there are constitutional rights of these accused persons that are involved, that are enshrined in the Bill of Rights of our Constitution. And things like that actually delay the trials in terms of, first, verifying whether there will be a legal representation, the issues of age of, the perpetrators, and all those, T's need to be crossed and I's need to be dotted in order for the proper, justice to be arrived at. I think that is what we should expect. And now we are looking at a huge number of 80, and in terms of running a trial that involves that and separating the trial, that will take a lot of time in terms of pre-trial proceedings before we even get to the bottom of the trial to get to know what really happened and what transpired and to get justice at the end of the day for the victims.
Yeah. So we look at this case in totality now. Initially, about 80 suspects were arrested on immigration-related charges. Then yesterday, the developments in the story, we saw 7 of them were charged in relation to this gang rape. Today, we're told that another 7 are reported to be appearing for the rape as well. What does this actually mean? So 14 men accused, what we are looking at, if today's information is right, of the actual rape. The others are still there being there for illegally here in the country. Perhaps you want to explain a little bit more about this now.
Yeah, look, there are separate issues. There's issues relating to them not having the papers which is dealt with in terms of immigration, and then the charges that they are facing, that include rape. And as we have said, that it's quite a number of them, but you can see that these trials must be separated. But what is important is the forensic evidence that actually links them to the crime. Because remember, if you have got an issue relating to being undocumented, it means that even when there is a conviction and you serve a sentence, after that sentence has been passed, you need to be deported back into the country where you actually come from. So hence there's an issue of separating these trials so that at least we get to the bottom of the investigations and see how far the forensic evidence has reached in terms of linking these aspects to the crime. Because what is important is that the NPA indicated that within 80 of them, there's a prima facie case that links them to those rapes. So that is what is important. But that alone cannot be able to sustain the case in the court of law. You need actual evidence that links them to the crime. Already, in relation to them being undocumented, it's already a crime that actually makes them not to be eligible to be released without actually verifying the status of the forensic evidence that is being professed against them.
Some people say if they don't have the papers, why can't we just send them back to wherever they came from? Why can't this be a simple issue of they are not meant to be here? Obviously, once we find out who is being accused of more, they stay on face it. But the others, we know they're illegal.
Yeah.
Why can't we just send them back? Or is it not as simple as that?
Unfortunately, the law does not work like that. The moment you have committed a crime, whether you are illegal or illegal, you have to face the consequences of the crime where you have committed the crime. So they cannot just be repatriated back to the countries which they came from. So they need to face the law, and then they need to serve the sentences in South Africa, and then after the expansion of the sentences in the crime, then they can be able to be repatriated back to the countries which they came from. So it's not just about sending them back, because there's a crime that has been committed, and then this crime must go through a full role of a criminal trial, and you cannot have a criminal trial without the accused being present in court.
Okay. So let me look a little bit more about this particular case, because what we are hearing as well is that there is a minor involved. That one of the accused is saying that they're 15 years of age. What happens in a case like this?
Yeah. No, look, the ages have to be verified as well. We must remember that there is a trick that is being used by when people are being arrested and they are not properly documented, that they will actually vouch for a younger age because they know that the Child Justice Act in South Africa talks about a different dispensation for minor children as well. So as long as there's no proper verification of their ages because they are undocumented, they will actually vouch for a younger age so that there will be lesser sentencing and then diversion programs that are allocated by the state in relation to that. So I believe that further investigations will actually reveal the true identity and their ages. Then they can be able to be a clear determination of whether they fall within the class of the Child Justice Act, and then they have to be treated as that and recorded as that because they are not adults. And the law applies differently when it comes to minors in South Africa.
Yeah, obviously there must have been an identity parade. I think that we did get confirmation that there was an identity parade on Tuesday that happened. So the victims have already identified these individuals that have been accused, and now the other 7 that we are going to be seeing today as well. So this is part and parcel of this entire investigation.
Absolutely. You're quite right, Leanne. I think it's part and parcel of the investigation, and then let's believe that the investigation will unfold in earnest, and the forensic will also bring the necessary evidence in order to link these accused to the crime so that they get punished for the crime that they've actually committed. And not in this age and time when we are fighting against the scourge and the rate of gender-based violence in South Africa, the law should be shifted.
My mind keeps on going to an interview that, we've spoken to so many of our reporters, but particularly Hasina Gore, who's working on this tirelessly, this particular case, and we'll be crossing to her again a bit later on in the program. But, having a conversation with her and speaking to these illegal minors that are here, on many occasions, you find that they don't have identity documents, they don't have papers, they are perhaps lured here by syndicates that run these particular mines, and they are here against their will and living in these mines. I mean, we hear about the stories of the Zamazamas. Do you think that this case will go deeper than just the incident of the rape that took place? Because the rape is a major issue. It is a major issue, and I understand that could be a separate case. But is it possible that there could be more to this trial, that we could actually get to the bottom of who is running and who is responsible for these mines and bringing these illegals into the country that are causing absolute havoc in communities?
Yeah, what you're saying is quite important, but I'm afraid not, because the way you've described it, there are elements of fear in what you've actually described. So in cases of bad criminal nature, the real perpetrators are not really brought to book. But this is a case that maybe immigration should look at and should do a deeper investigation, as well as the South African police, in terms of high-rank investigations of what are the real issues that are causing these illegal mines, and what is actually what you have actually described, so to get to the bottom of the real perpetrators, or who are actually bringing these illegal miners in the country. And I think that way we could be moving somewhat into resolving these problems. And now we are actually catching the small fries, and we are saying like there are really indeed big fishes that are out there and continue to perpetrate this kind of illegal activities in mines in South Africa. It's a big problem that South African police, Home Affairs, and immigration should start looking at on a serious note.
Yeah, I want to talk also more about these young women and what they've actually been through, because I think this has been a very, very difficult time for them. Because I read on certain respects that some of their information was actually leaked onto social media once they had reported the incident to the police station. So that's another issue that I imagine needs to be dealt with. This is something that I'm reading and seeing coming off of CBS News. Another issue is, when we talk about gang rape, I'm asking you two questions in one, purely because of the issue of time. If one girl was raped by 4 males, which is the case of some of them, would all their DNA samples have to show up in the investigations? How do you get around, and how do we make sure that this is actually proven?
Yeah, look, it's definitely the DNA evidence, and also the Constitutional Court has ruled on the doctrine of common purpose in rape. So that division of the Constitutional Court helps us, in actually getting to the to the issue of gang rape in South Africa. So the DNA evidence will actually link, and also the doctrine of common purpose will actually assist in getting the conviction, and that is very much important. And in relation to the revealing of the identity, I saw that the information regulator is already taking the South African police services to task in terms of leaking of the information of the victims, which was not supposed to actually happen in the first place. So the information regulator has already asked questions to SABC, and we are waiting for the response from SABC as to what actually happened in relation to the links. And then in terms of the law, we are safe having the decision of the Constitutional Court relating to the doctrine of common purpose and the forensic evidence that is going to link the perpetrators to the crime.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we've got to leave it there. Advocate, thanks so much. Thanks very, very much for giving us your feedback on this. But this is a very complicated case, and one hopes that we will get justice. Really, these young girls and this entire story, and the whole of South Africa need justice when it comes to these particular incidents. We really do. Legal commentator, advocate Romeo Nthambeleni, talking to us about the story of the rape in Krugersdorp, that we should see another 7 being charged with rape today. So 7 yesterday, and we've been told 7 more people.